In the quiet town of Harrow's Crossing, a series of mysterious disappearances leaves the community paralyzed with fear. It all began when 43-year-old Sylvia Peters vanished without a trace from her small, blue cottage. Sylvia was the first, but she wouldn't be the last. One by one, the people of Harrow's Crossing were taken. The terrified townsfolk whispered tales of strange occurrences around the missing, stories of alien encounters and sinister beings watching them in the night. Nobody knew what to believe, but with each disappearance, the whispers grew louder. Late one evening, Tom Stevens, the local mechanic, saw something he would never forget. His insomnia kept him awake as the small town slept. It was then, in the dead of night, that he spotted them. Shadowy figures with large, black eyes and elongated limbs were lurking just outside the bedroom windows of his neighbors. He watched in terror as they stood there, unmoving, observing the unsuspecting townspeople as they slept. Unsure of what to do, Tom grabbed his phone and attempted to record the scene. But as he raised his phone, a figure turned its head, staring directly at him. It was as if they knew he was watching them. Tom gasped, dropping his phone and scrambling to retrieve it. When he looked back up, the figures had vanished. The next morning, he shared his experience with the other residents, only to be met with disbelief and scorn. The town attributed his story to the ramblings of a sleep-deprived man, and life continued as usual. However, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was about to happen. That night, 22-year-old Emily Watson vanished from her home, just across the street from where Tom had seen the shadowy figures. Her disappearance marked the 8th in just a few months, and the town was on edge. The once tight-knit community grew paranoid, and their fear intensified. Tom, desperate to find answers and protect his family, installed security cameras around his house. He spent countless hours reviewing the footage, straining to catch a glimpse of the beings he'd seen. One night, as he studied the grainy images, he saw them again. The figures moved swiftly, like shadows, barely visible as they flitted between the homes. There was no doubt in Tom's mind that they were the ones responsible for the disappearances. He took his evidence to the local sheriff, a stern and practical man named Walter Reynolds. The sheriff hesitated, but ultimately decided to organize a town meeting to discuss the situation. The atmosphere in the packed room was tense, and when Tom presented the footage, the room erupted in a mixture of panic and disbelief. The town divided, some convinced the threat was real, while others dismissed it as a desperate attempt to explain the tragic abductions. Regardless, a curfew was established, and the residents of Harrow's Crossing were told to lock their doors and stay vigilant. As the weeks went by, the disappearances continued. Every few days, another person vanished, leaving no trace behind. The once skeptical sheriff had become an advocate for Tom's claims, and together they struggled to find a way to stop the mysterious abductions. It wasn't until one fateful night, when an elderly woman named Agnes managed to escape her captors, that the town began to understand the true nature of the horror they faced. Agnes told them of strange, otherworldly creatures that would watch her sleep. They spoke in hushed, incomprehensible whispers and moved with unnatural speed. She believed they were studying her and the other captives for reasons she could not fathom. Her escape had been a mixture of luck and determination. She had managed to slip through the grasp of her captors during a moment of their inattention. Agnes could not tell how long she had been held or where she had been, as everything was in darkness. Her account only further fueled the town's terror and determination to protect themselves. Sheriff Reynolds decided it was time to take more drastic action. He enlisted the help of a group of volunteers who would patrol the town nightly, watching for the strange beings and ready to confront them if necessary. Armed with whatever weapons they could find, they set out into the night. For several days, their vigilance seemed to pay off, as no further abductions occurred. However, one night, the entire town was awoken by a cacophony of screams and gunfire. The patrol had encountered the creatures, and a vicious battle had erupted in the streets of Harrow's Crossing. When the dust settled and the sun began to rise, the people of the town discovered the grisly aftermath. Several of the patrol members had been killed, their bodies left in twisted, unnatural poses, as if they had been studied even in death. There were no signs of the creatures themselves. The townsfolk, now truly desperate and united by their shared horror, began to consider abandoning their homes, leaving behind the life they had built in Harrow's Crossing. In the face of the unknown, it seemed that their only hope was to flee and start anew. But just as the first families were packing their belongings, a stranger arrived in town. She introduced herself as Dr. Eleanor Grant, a renowned expert in the field of extraterrestrial phenomena. Having heard of the events in Harrow's Crossing, she had come to help. Dr. Grant studied the town's history, the abduction patterns, and Agnes's account. After several days of tireless research, she proposed a plan to confront the beings and put an end to the abductions. The plan was dangerous, and some doubted its effectiveness, but with no other options, the town agreed to try. Under Dr. Grant's guidance, they constructed an elaborate trap, using themselves as bait. They would replicate the conditions under which the creatures were most likely to strike, luring them in for a final confrontation. Despite their fear, the residents of Harrow's Crossing stood together, determined to protect their town and their families. The night arrived, and the townspeople carried out Dr. Grant's plan to the letter. As they waited, tension filled the air, and every creak and whisper sent shivers down their spines. Then, the creatures appeared, moving silently in the shadows, watching their prey with those terrible, black eyes. The trap was sprung, and chaos erupted. The beings fought with a ferocity and strength the townspeople had never witnessed before. But the people of Harrow's Crossing, fueled by their desperation and determination, fought back just as fiercely. In the end, they managed to subdue and capture the creatures. Dr. Grant and the townspeople secured the beings and sent word to the highest authorities. They hoped that, with their captives contained, they could finally find answers and put an end to the terror that had gripped Harrow's Crossing. While the future remained uncertain, the people of the town knew they had faced the unknown and stood their ground. The night's events would forever be etched in their memories, and they would always remember the time when they came face to face with the Watchers in the shadows.